Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode here at Catholic Table Talk Podcast. This is a podcast where everything Catholic is on the table. Once again, this week, glad to have you on board again for another week at the table. Flying solo by myself today. This week's episode is brought to us again by Dr. Katrina Wynn. Dr. Katrina Wynn is a licensed physician and medical doctor. See how she can help you, your family, and your community out at mdkatrina.com. Also, you can find her at My Catholic Doctor. Also, it is brought to you by Ken Litchfield and his book, How Old Is Your Church? An Introductory to the Catholic Church. So, check out that one on Amazon as well. Thank you for Dr. Wynn and Ken both for supporting the show. If you want to support the show via advertising, donation, whatever, or merchandise, please email us at catholictt@gmail.com. Again, it's catholictt@gmail.com, the official email of Catholic Table Talk Podcast. Hello, everyone who are new. Thank you for watching and listening. Glad to have you. If you don't know what platforms you can find the show, please look down in the description box below, and you can see them down there. Also, stay up to date. Follow us on every platform. Why not? We do stuff a little bit different on each platform, so it's good to stay up to date. Follow us on each platform. So, well, like I mentioned before, I'm flying solo. This week's episode is kind of washing through life means no peace. And what do I mean by that? I found a couple articles like I usually do. A couple a couple other sites are Sunday Visitor and the Catholic Stand. So, one is pretty lengthy, one's not too bad. I have the links down below for you to read through them, look at them at yourself. And basically, just kind of get it started here. What does, I always feel rushed, and I found this on Catholic Vote, on the Catholic Loop. But, why do we rush all the time? Why are we rushing through life? Like Alabama sings, I'm in a hurry, but I don't know why. Um, yeah, I just rushing through life. All I gotta do is live and die, they seem, but I don't really have time to rushing. So why are we rushing so much? Well, it might be a couple different reasons. Maybe you have a family and your kids are just starting, preschool, whatever, and it's just really rushing. It doesn't seem like maybe when the kid was sleeping for 5 hours during the daytime that you could have gotten more stuff done. Maybe maybe you're a single parent and you're trying to take care of a few kids. Maybe you're just in so many activities and sports. If you're in high school, if you're in college, and you're kind of like, I got so much stuff going on. I'm just kind of rushing to this or that, to doing this, to doing that. I mean, let's face it. If you're in school and you're in a sport in high school and you're in 3 different sports, fall, winter, and spring, I mean you can practice those sports basically all year round. So, and of course you just have the usual while it's just going off to work, coming home, cooking, not feeling like doing anything else, just living for the weekend. I don't really care about the week. I just want to get to Friday night so we can have a good time. Saturday kind of do whatever we want. Sunday go to church, rest up, watch the Twins, Vikings, or whatever. And Monday start the whole thing over again. So again, we are rushing through this world today, but we're going to talk about why we shouldn't and why we should especially take holy the Sabbath, like the Lord said, but also just trying to make that feel like every single day. Just because if you're rushing through life, you don't really have much time for God. More on a personal level, maybe sure you say prayers with your family before and after, or before meals and before bed or whatever. But on a personal level, I mean, maybe you pray in the car or something, but just find that quiet time, especially at home or at church, is probably pretty hard for you. So, without further ado, let's get going here. The Sabbath and the Culture of the Family Home by Leonardo Di Lezano. So he says, one Sunday I was at the park with my children. They were busy enjoying themselves. I was doing the usual things like pushing pushing swings, making sure that the youngest didn't fall off the ladder, sitting on a bench whenever I could. 20 minutes in or so, I started hurrying them along in whatever they were doing. As kids often do, they went at their own pace despite my own wishes. I found myself getting annoyed because I could just feel like we were going to be late. And then it occurred to me we don't have anywhere to be. There is no reason there is no reason to rush. It's not that I've forgotten that our schedule was free. I knew it the whole time. The fact is, I wasn't rushing them because I thought we had something else to do. I was rushing them because I couldn't help it. I was so used to rushing them, that rushing had become my default mode. I remember well that day at the park because that's when I started thinking about what time it is for. I don't mean that in some abstract, philosophical sense. I meant it in a very personal and practical way. What is my time for, and what is my family's time for, and how does the way we treat time affect us? These things rushed to my mind again recently when a friend told me that he and his wife counted the number of things on the family calendar. Oh boy, but we all have a big family calendar, don't we? There were more than 3 dozen events for their 4 children. The kids are thriving and my friends are very committed. Thoughtful parents, but they still find themselves wondering, what are we doing? What is this all for? Underneath my feeling and my kids is, I believe, a hidden sadness out of the activity that, more often than not, fill most days and weeks. With all that rushing between different tasks, yet feeling like you're always a little bit behind has an effect on us. We feel powerless because the calendar, the schedule, and the flowing of things and the pace is just so powerful. I call this sadness quite intentionally because I can relate to the vice outside that, a cry outside that, which is a spiritual sadness. Outside is a vice typically associated with sloth, which seems to have more to do with latency than activity. But in modern life, we have stuffed ourselves on unfeeling activity. Insistent activity. The thing that someone likes to get me hooked on is not just one activity or another, but the need to move more quickly and to find the next thing. Everything, even the best of things, can be made to feel just like one more thing to do. I think of this in so many parents that have the sense of being run by a schedule more than running a schedule. There's a difference. This is neatly set up for me to now say something like, the key is to do fewer things and stop rushing so much. I guess I could say that, and there is some wisdom in it, but I have something else in my mind because just cutting things out is a negative action. Rather than a positive statement, only a positive statement can we answer the question of what is time for, and what my time is for, and what my family's time is for. I started talking about taking this seriously, that one Sunday at the park, it perhaps providential that my dissatisfaction with my own rushing began on a Sunday, because I think the key is to getting time right. To make a positive statement about time is about getting Sunday right. The Sabbath Word. In her book, The Sabbath Word, the Jewish author Judith Slichitz writes, time has an agriculture that agriculture has a power to affect us as deeply as the agriculture of space does. That's the astonishing claim. It means that the environment that shapes us is not just the built or natural world that surrounds us, but also the schedule that we keep intentionally or unintentionally. This includes the schedules we keep for others, the demands we make on their time, whether because they are under our authority, like our children, or because social conditions that benefit some come at the expense of others, impacting how they must use their time. Uh, Judith speaks of the social immortality of time. She goes on to say that the Sabbath is an organizing principle. It is socially reinforced temporally structure. She means that absorbing the Sabbath commits her in a very particular way to what she will do and prioritize this day each week. But more than that, she means that absorbing the Sabbath orientates and organizes the rest of her days during the week. Very interesting, isn't it? While it also changes what she would do, or demand, or what she would demand or expect from others at a minimum, it means that all other working activities must be held within the bounds of 6 days. While it also means that the other days are in some way a preparation for and an outflowing of the one day that is intentionally different from all the rest, the Sabbath or Sunday. I learned the importance of what Judith is talking about through a man I have come to consider the patron saint of time, St. Louis Martin, the father of St. Therese of Lisieux. He was a busy and modestly successful man, yet a man for whom Sunday came first. He and his family's time flowed from and returned to the observance of the Sunday as Lord's Day, the fulfillment of the Sabbath, as in came from the Catholic Catechism of the Catholic Church. Louis was a clockmaker. He sold and fixed clocks. He knew a lot about time. He lived in a time of growing commerce. He labored for his customers, and he was surrounded by competitors. The way things were going in on his day, it would have become it would have been natural and expected for him to do what everyone else like him was doing, extend his working hours and keep his shop open each day, including Sunday. But Louis' understanding of time went deeper than the demands of commerce. When he placed forth as a primary and most positive thing was observing the Lord's Day. On Sundays he walked, he prayed, he played with his children. He intentionally engaged in the works of mercy, specifically almsgiving. It was not just that he was taking a break from a marketplace competition and the hustle and bustle of the working world just to get back to it later. More than that, he was making a statement about what was all the work is ultimately for, to remember and enjoy the day of liberation. For Israel, the Sabbath requires freedom from slavery in Egypt. For as a Christian like Louis, Sunday is a celebration of freedom from sin and death to Christ. And finishing up the article, that Sunday in the park I was not working. In that way, you could say I was like Louis. The difference between us is this. I had allowed myself to be formed by the business of the world, and I felt the effects of that even when I was not working. Louis, however, was intentionally formed by his primary observance of the Lord's Day and felt the effects of that formation in his workshop and throughout the rest of the days of the week. He organized his workday according to the focus and intentionally he drew from the Sabbath. His days began and ended in prayer, with periods of prayer spread throughout the day. He made his workshop into a place where he had paid close attention to his craft, focusing deeply and growing in skill. With his wife Zelly, he cultivated a home where time was marked by the liturgical cycle, a different rhythm of time that preserves the dignity of creation and the dignity of those commanded to keep holy the Sabbath. I found myself especially drawn to Lewis's commitment to the works of mercy on Sunday, attending to the needs of those who were suffering in some way. Lewis placed a priority of freeing others of their hardships and restoring them in some measure to the freedom of enjoying life. Sunday was, for him, a practice of communion. For someone like me, to practice the Lord's Day well requires both preparation and intentionally. Or to wake up on Sunday morning and say, "It's Sunday. Today will be different." I would more likely than not end up slipping back into what I experienced at the park that day. The well-alienating habits of rushing and worrying about externality I developed the other days of the week would control me. Observing Sunday will require daily commitment by putting the most things in life on the calendar first and then making all the other things fit around them. If they can, these most important things include prayer, face-to-face conversation, some period of real leisure, time dedicated to the needs of others, etc. I think that is how the Sabbath becomes an organized principle. It determines what is non-negotiable, and everything else has to fit accordingly. And basically, just real quickly here before we go to the next article quickly, I agree with Leonardo. I mean, you kind of have that feeling. I mean, I struggle with being rushing all the time. I always got to be doing something. Even if we go to a lake or something, I can't really relax. I just gotta do something. And basically, like you mentioned, he started, St. Louis started his day, and his day was prayer, which I try to do most days. I don't always, but I try to. And, spread a little bit of prayer throughout the day. Um, but, I mean, again, you gotta keep hold of the Lord's Day, which if you set your kind of your week around that, and you kind of really, like he said, like talked about, kind of really lay back and just relax and be with families, doing works of mercy. Then kind of build off that for the work week and start the next day. Um, and for me, I mean, resting on the Sabbath is easy 6 months out of the year, just because I can sit and watch the NFL for 10 hours a day, all day Sunday. Now that might be a little bit of maybe slop, but it's Sunday. But and I do that with family. I sometimes do it with friends. So I mean, yeah, it's a good thing to practice. And like I said, I mean, yeah, every day is Sunday, but in some aspects, we gotta kind of treat every day like Sunday to slow down and kind of just really um, slow down and take time for prayer, to be with family, and to help other people out. So, and maybe you do that at the kitchen table. Maybe instead of you know watching TV during dinner, you talk to one another. Maybe it's instead of after work rushing home to mow the lawn to wake up to stay on the deck, do this and that. Maybe you only do one of them a day and spend more time with a loved one or a friend or um, you know maybe you volunteer or something. So yeah, again, so basically, think of Sunday. Take that time and take that day to kind of be the center of your life, to kind of have the week evolve around that. Because, like, I think it was a Father Mike Schmitz or someone said, and this is why I try to begin my day with prayer, is if you begin with God, then He fills in the rest. So if you begin your day with prayer, your day's probably going to be a lot better than if it was if you didn't start your day with prayer. Same thing, if you start off your day being washing, you're just you're not gonna get off that mode, off that gear. But if you take it one step at a time, then you'll probably become pretty good. So again, this is a pretty short article, probably about 5 minutes, so we'll run through this one quick. This is from the Catholic stand, stop washing and be in God's presence by Anne Lore's Meads. Each day is a rush from the beginning to the end for many people. Scarf down breakfast, want to catch a bus, work all day, pick up the children from school, clean the house, mow the lawn, edit homework late into the night. Maybe look at other stuff, and there you go. Like I said earlier, you just do that every single day. You live for Friday night. You just kind of keep going. Most of us can barely fit everything that needs to be done into a 24-hour span. We might believe that we can accomplish all of this and more in our lives. After all, sloth is regarded by the Catholic Church as one of the 7 deadly sins. From Proverbs 6:6 says, "Go to the act, you slug. Consider its ways and be wise." One could take this to mean that God wants us to be busy constantly, striving to do His will and bring about His glory on earth. Which, in a way, He wants us to always be praying, like He told His apostles, but pray unceasingly, but you have to be working constantly. Um, and, and basically, I mean, again, sloth is like you basically gotta be sitting around the house, nothing to do, and you know, I mean, not going to church, and all that stuff. Sloth, you really do have to just be not really helping anyone, just being totally to yourself and skipping mass and all that. Anyway, yet this verse can be misconstructing. Proverbs does not state work all the time like the at, or even be as busy as the at. Instead, the scripture clearly says to be wise. Regarding the use of time, also sloth does not mean simple laziness. According to New Advent, sloth is the don't care feeling that St. Thomas later expanded as being formerly distressed at the prospect of what we must do for God to bring about or keep interact his friendship with God. In the sense, sloth is directly opposed to charity, therefore we should be careful before label resting as sloth or sinful. Again, you're not slothing if you're basically keeping the Lord's Day on Sunday by sitting, like me, 10 hours in front of a TV with family and friends, being interacting with family and friends, having a good time watching football, and praying together and everything. That's not sloth. Sometimes it is Sometimes it is the washing about that is more of a sin. Too often, our holding is not motivated by following God's direction, but striving to fulfill our own desires. Pride is being so important, longing to be respected. Fear of having repetition as lazy, and a warped desire to control life all cause people to pack their days full. Unfortunately, this business often leaves out time for simply being a Satan with God and not having that personal friendship with them, not having that personal interaction with them. Think back to the story of Mary and Martha. The one sister, Martha, secured about the house in an attempt to ready everything for Jesus. Mary, on the other hand, sat at our Lord's feet and listened to his words. When the hearing woman commented on her siblings' lack of work, Jesus responded by saying, Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed. Only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and will not be taken away from her. That's Luke chapter 10, 41 through 42. How strange it seems that God would correct the person who was working hard to serve him. Instead, Christ commands the one that just sits in his presence. That is how we know that Mary does. She stays, basks, rests in the presence of our Lord. In this, she must have found divine respite and peace. As a senior university student and several jobs, daily blogging, theater, honoring societies, and other groups, I really find time to relax in the comforting presence of God. Instead, my days are spent running from one place to another, trying to accompany my ever-expanding list of tasks instead of getting shorter than this to-do list only grows. By early morning, my spirit is already drained and my body longs for sleep. Does that sound familiar? With our busy lives in that mirror, how society shows us to live, we must find time to stop and just be. The art of being in the moment and just experiencing that time might sound like a strange new age concept. However, that does not need to be the case. As Catholics, we should not only head to heaven with joy and back to past to gain wisdom, but also remain in the present and thankfulness for each moment. An attitude In an attitude of prayer being present from Catholic Web, it states that prayer is a time to be present. You're not in the past, you're not in the future when you pray, you're in the present. What does it mean to stop and just be with God in the present? For each person, the process might look a little bit different, because everyone's different, everyone's unique. Here are a few ways that I have found helpful in my own life or observed in the lives of other Catholics. 1. Experience the world with your senses. Smell the crisp autumn air. Stand with the sunshine on your back. Close your eyes and just chew your food slowly. During each of these events, praise God for his creation and the world that he created for us. Take a walk. Being in nature is the way that I can rest with God the easiest. combining this with using my senses makes it even better. Read the Bible and journal. Try not to put a time limit on this. By pouring out your heart while exploring His Word, you are becoming like Mary sitting at His feet. Turn off the lights and sit in darkness. Taking away sinful helps me to feel closer to God instead of being distracted. I find myself melting into His arms as He renews my strength. Swim, run, or do another athletic activity. Even while being active, you can have a type of relaxation with the Lord. And I understand, like, I go for a walk, thank God for the day, especially if it's a beautiful day. My goal is to take time just to be with God at least once a day. I will fall short of this, but that does not mean I cannot keep aiming for this divine rest, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. We cannot last without these moments of God's renewing energy and peace. We all need to relax and open ourselves up to just being, not rushing or taskless. God alone can grant us strength to get through our hectic lives. Because again, He's in control, we are not. And again, like I said, that's where it's like you start the day off with prayer. You try to have that throughout the day. You kind of meet with prayer. Like me, I try to, do the rosary in the car, Divine Mercy Chaplet in the car, maybe some Catholic Talk Radio in the car, or sitting down at my desk. Now, yes, am I really mindful, or am I really thinking about really doing stuff all the time? If I'm driving or I'm sitting on the desk doing stuff? No, not exactly, but I'm being mindful and I'm praying and I'm still trying to be as mindful as I can in that moment to make sure that God fits into my life throughout the day, whether that's at work, in the car, on the beach, in the mountains, or whatever. Right? So just making sure you take time with God at least once a day, if not, I would say a few times a day for sure. And again, it's up to you, and it's up to you and it's up to you and God how much time you spend with each other. I cannot say because it's all different for everyone. So anyway, so again, like I said, make sure you spend time with God. Again, set to your work week or your week around Sunday, and to kind of build off what you feel on Sunday. Take a relaxing Sunday, not just we go to church, but it's we're gonna wash here, we're gonna wash here, we're gonna wash here on Sunday. Nope, just stay at home or see your family and friends. Don't be washing to all these other stuff. So, and also again, just be mindful that God is in control. That our lives get hectic when we're not with God. When we're with God, then it's all peace and quiet and everything. And I know that from experience. I'm sure you do know that as well. So, again, that's a good reminder, though. Also, look up a couple episodes ago, we did the spiritual and corporal works of mercy. So if you want any help on those, look the video up as well. It's just 2 episodes ago, episode 112. That will do it for this week, though, folks. Thank you again. Episode 114 is closing out. Hey, again, love to hear from you. If you have a show or topic request, email them to us or drop them in the comments below. Love to have a guest on, whether it's yourself or someone you know, a great speaker that we haven't had on the show yet, or a really good topic. We're always looking for some, and we'll fit into the schedule as soon as we can. Also, again, if you want to reach out to me, again, email is the fastest way, but make sure you reach out to us and tell us where you're listening from and how you found the show. Anyway, so God bless you this day. Stay in safe grace. Go to the sacraments, and God willing, we'll see you next week for episode 115, where everything Catholic is on the table right here at Catholic Table Talk Podcast.